Hello, hello, hello. This is Quay Renee, and welcome to my podcast thing. Um, Obviously, it's a working title, but I mean, like when you're writing, the title comes after you finish. That's the best tip I got from a college professor. So, it's a thing and it's a podcast, so this is my podcast thing. And what I wanted to start with is some things that I left in 2017. We're 10 days into 18, and one of the major things that I left was my job of 7 years. I left it in 2017 because it was no longer conducive to my lifestyle. Like, it was no longer serving a purpose. Yes, bills come every month, but there are other means of paying them. And I don't know, being black in corporate America has to be one of the most interesting social experiments ever. It's like once we're there, the only thing that we can be is, I feel, is watered down versions of ourselves. Because, can't be too aggressive, can't be too loud, can't be this, can't be that. I mean, in some places for the most part. Um, a lot of offices discourage things that come natural to us. And I'm not claiming stereotypes here. I'm just saying it's just very prevalent and noticeable. Almost to the point where I felt as though the job I was doing, I felt as though um, that I needed to be medicated for almost. Like, I seriously looked into a mood stabilizer only to be some level of subdued while taking phone calls from from random people, which can't be good. Like, there can't be a place in your life where you feel as though medication is going to be the answer. Like, to me, that's crazy. The idea that I thought that could help my problem, when in fact the problem was the job itself. I mean, it's just crazy to think about that I thought that was going to solve the issue. But I mean, another reason that it was left in 17 is because it was just that, like, it was a job. It was the first job I had out of college, making pretty good money. Not what I was worth, but it was just money that came well. It allotted me to move out of my mother's house and into my own place. And it was a fun place to work. A lot of people that I started with or that started a couple months before me can tell you, like, it was a good place to work. And then when you are purchased by a larger company and become part of a machine, things start changing, and they start changing quickly. I'm talking layoff after layoff and reorganizing things and replacement of staff and just the crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not here to talk about work. I'm just talking here to discuss what the next step in my life is going to be. I mean, honestly, when we can get real, I was terminated. But when I was terminated, it was not as scary as most people will lead you to believe, or that society will lead you to believe. I mean, yes, I mean, there's things you think about and how, and there's definitely a stressful few weeks that follow when you're just like, how is this happening? And it was, what, a couple weeks before Christmas. So that was a thing too. But I was smart enough to have a plan. I know the social whatever about Christmas, but I mean, my family, we enjoy giving gifts and seeing each other faces when we give those gifts. So, yes, that was a factor for me, but I was able to get what I wanted to get. And I was also grateful and thankful for that. So, because I was really, okay, let's get really real. I was really trying to stay on at least until December because we were getting those fabulous, 3 pays in December. Like every corporate employee waits for that special month. Sometimes it happens once a year, sometimes it happens twice a year. But it's glorious when you can get those 3 paychecks. And like the first one will go to like rent, mortgage, bills. The second one you feel like belongs to you and you're free to be able to do whatever you want to do without, the noose of what you owe around your neck. And thirdly, the third one, you just like, oh, yeah, so I'm able to pay this and this as well, which is also nice. Um, so, yeah, I was trying to hold out till then, didn't make it, made it after the first two. And I mean, it is what it is. I used to not even like to talk about money. Like it cringed me out, like the most part. But with my partner, my boyfriend, the man in my life, he made it a little bit easier for me because he's just awesome at who he is, and things are very clear and concise, and it's no BS around anything. So, in our cohabitation situation, I mean, things are just laid out clearly. What works for us, and it is working. So, there is no complaints there. And I also tell him, like, I remember the first time, I'm like, you are an awesome life partner. Like, you really are. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody has our issues, but nobody wants to talk about that. I like to let him know, like, how awesome he is in communicating, is especially in something like finances, because you hear all the time, like, that's the type of stuff that ruins marriages or relationships once people, start to cohabitate or have like a domestic situation when they're sharing responsibilities. He's very responsible, and his number one rule, I don't know if he would mind it, but I mean, is take care of home first. So, I mean, you can't go wrong when it comes to that. And that's also a point of when I was choosing to leave, because that is the job, of course, because that's what came to mind. I did not want to place all of the financial strain on him. I didn't want him to feel like, oh, I was doing this and then like he would be paying for everything and I just be doing me, like I'd be fine to me. No. I wanted to have a clear and concise plan as to how things had to go about so that financially we'd be all right and everything, and he would not feel like everything fell on him because he's just that awesome. Like, I don't think he would mind it, kind of at first, but he has to also know, and knowing me and like who I am, that I would never allow that. And that's the case. So, I mean, other than that, you know, finances just are important and important to talk about when you're with someone. And more importantly, so it's been almost a month, I think. Yeah, like Friday will make it a month since since I've been let go, whatever. I'll still say since I left, um, because it was my choice in leaving somewhere where I was no longer growing, where I was no longer encouraged, where it was no type of movement, where I felt stuck and it was affecting me. It was affecting my life. It was affecting my relationship in a way. Like, it's, I don't think people realize how much work or the stress or the monotony of what goes on. I don't know if people realize like how much that affects your home life, especially when you're a woman. When you're a man, I feel like you go to work, you come home, you can decompress. Men have different, outlets, sports, games, I don't know what else men tend to do. They always create some type of outlet. And I mean, women do too. But it's just like when you both work and then you get home and then as a woman, you're like, you feel as though like a meal should be prepared, but you're kind of tired from the day and you're not looking forward to tomorrow. Like all of that downness is a major role. And it's really unnecessary in life. And it wasn't a place where I felt like, oh, I'm stifled. Because surprisingly, I still had a lot of time. But what wasn't going to happen is that I wasn't going to sit at a place that doesn't even care whether I'm there or not. Not only to do the job, but whether Jaquia Booker is present or not. Like I just can't. So I mean, it was what it was. Corporate America, and yeah, and a job that's just basically a task that anybody could do, even a machine. You could actually program a machine to answer the calls and direct them, I believe, to where they have to go. No damn play to my team. I love them. And that was the thing. It was the actual task of what the job was, directly. I loved my team. We were calm. We basically managed ourselves. Everybody was open and cool about it. Ashley, Michelle, Michael, Lindsay, and in our adjacent team that was also doing it too. Like all the administrative assistants, they were awesome. What I would say that was lacking was management. Management. I really couldn't stand the manager and um, and the direct supervisor. That whole situation was crazy. Like they lay off the lady who hired me and then they just bring on someone who's already a supervisor somewhere else and just add us on, like throw us onto the pile. Like that's just what I felt like. And it was just crazy. It's crazy to work somewhere where you literally cannot move, where there is no upward mobility, where there is no lateral mobility, and they want everyone to stay in their spot doing the same or more work, but we're not going to give you money. And maybe your director will try and fatten you up by ordering pizza on a Friday, or they try to have these parties to make everybody inclusive when it's just a band of misfits coming together, like just trying to make it in this company. Like, I don't know. It just was weird. And I am somewhat social. And the fact that, like, I did not want to be present for half of the BS is parties. I mean, the BS parties. Like, that just spoke volumes to me. So I actually didn't think this was the turn that this first conversation would take. But I just wanted to let people know, like, I took the steps. My relationship survived. convincing my mother that it was necessary was a whole nother feat. But she sees like where I'm coming from, because moms just come from a place of concern. And I think they're always worried about making sure their adult children are okay, even though, we are adults mostly, because all the time you don't feel like adult. Like, I was born in 87, so literally we all turned 30 last year. But I'm sure there's people out there that we still don't feel like we're adults. We just go through the motions of what growing up has meant for us, which is taking more responsibility in our life, in our finances, I hope, and maintaining what we have. That seems to be the grown up thing to do. Um, Other than that, it's just like for me and my boyfriend, we're just like two children living together, laughing and joking, who take care of our responsibilities, which I cannot complain about. And no, I wanted to say there aren't children involved, which made things a little bit more easier. But I mean, the state of Pennsylvania, I think, will have your back if there was, um, just in case you wanted to or felt like you had to make moves. I just want people to know that please don't be afraid or let the idea or the stigma of bills and responsibility be the only reason that you stay somewhere when you are called and you were made and created and developed to do other things. Like, I'm sure there is something that each of us can contribute to society, more so than we're already doing at a job. And that's why I keep emphasizing that it was a job. It was not a career choice. It was good for what it was at the time. And I knew when the time was up, a couple years prior to that. But, 7 years later, and my delay, whatever happened, happened. And we just had to part ways. It was very necessary to. So, with that, I am on to bigger and better things. The fact of waking up and having a day to yourself and not an alarm is already enough for me. The fact that I can focus more on our life and how we're living in nutrition and health and lifestyle, that is important to me. Checking up on my grandma more during the day. I could go by and see her whenever I want. That is what it is important to me. And hopefully, I will find something in my mission to help people, to talk to people, to have them hear my stories, and hopefully have them not feel like they are alone in any situation, given is what I feel like I'm here to do. People often come to me and talk to me about stuff. I do have, if anyone cares, a bachelor's in psychology, but that was only in pursuit because before then I felt like that's what I was already doing. Like, people already came to me with their stuff. Um, I was already aware of a lot and what surrounded me, and um, so in that, I thought, becoming a therapist was what it was I was supposed to do. Um, but not going back, that has been in the back of my mind since I graduated in 2010. Um, Newman University now. I started when it was college. Now it's a university. It's broadened, it's spread out. I think it's awesome for the system, but I like the small class atmosphere. Like, literally, everybody in my major, we just knew each other, we see each other. It was so much of a rapport that we all had, and it was a pretty great experience. Um, I've blamed not furthering my education on the GRE because I hate the idea of standardized tests, and that I went to college and worked as hard as I could just to get to another that standardized test. Like, it was basically just a stepping stone, and then I still have to take a test to even get into grad school. I thought that was weird, but so hopefully, I'm finding that, just by being myself, I can maybe be who I'm, basically set out to be. Just know, I mean, I have a credential, as I stated, but not to have that define me. More recently, Dr. Umar Johnson had to defend himself in court for his credentials. I heard he was cool as a cucumber. And whether I am a firm follower or believer, I believe he has a mission. He's on that mission. And whatever other factors or controversial situations come into it, I believe he's on a mission, and I support that mission of furthering us as a people. So there's that. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to end on that note because I believe the next show can be a whole situation about college and the thereafter, and how I felt about going through it and not even working with the degree I have, which I feel like most of us do, because we were convinced that it was going to be differently, and society forces you to believe that things will be differently, and it's just not the case. So that may be the next show, about my college experience and what came with it, and some more financial tips that I'm sure my friends and family have heard me praise lots of times when you are in Institute of Higher Learning. So, for my first podcast thing, I think I'm going to wrap it up. And this has been Quay Renee. And I hope you enjoy your night, day, evening. Thank you.